Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yesterday when we concluded, we did conclude with the testimony of Captain Laughlin on behalf of the state. Is the state prepared to call any further witnesses at this time?
No, Judge. At this time, based on the state of the evidence, the state would rest.
Okay, and before we brought the jury out, we did go through Exhibits 1 through 19 and various objections to some of those exhibits. State is moving to admit Exhibits 1 to 19.
We are.
And over the exceptions that we discussed previously, I will admit Exhibits 1 through 19.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the state has now rested its case. They have presented all of their evidence, and we will then turn to the defense now for their evidence. As we've discussed already, they have already presented their one witness through the doctor yesterday out of order. But at this time, then, Mr. O'Brien, you may call your next witness.
Defense calls Gerald Bensch.
Okay, sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would take the witness stand, and then you can adjust the mic, make sure you're close to the mic.
Mr. Bensch,
Yes, sir.
would you give us your full name and spell your last name?
It's Gerald D. Bensch, B-E-N-S-C-H.
Mr. Bensch, are you a resident of Summit County?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What's your trade, vocation, and occupation?
Builder, building and houses.
Okay. Do you do any renovation work?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How old are you, sir?
46.
Okay. Do you have a prior criminal felony record?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is that?
Domestic violence, violation protection order.
Right. Now, I'm going to call your attention, get right to the issue here. Were you here in Summit County on March 20th, 2017?
Yes, sir.
Were you over in an area near Goodyear Heights?
Yes, sir.
And were you on a street called Danmead?
Yes, sir.
Were you in the 800 block of Danmead?
Yes, sir.
All right. And can you tell us what your purpose was that day or night on Danmead?
I was remodeling a bathroom.
Okay. And that bathroom would be what was the address?
If I don't, just ate something, it's been a while. I
Okay.
don't remember the address.
If I were to suggest it's right around the 800 number, would that be the approximate street address?
About,
All right. And you would, that's the even numbers side of the street, correct?
yes, sir.
All right. The opposite side of the street would be the uneven number,
Yes, sir.
possibly 797 Danmead.
Almost 100%.
Okay. Now, you're working or renovating a bathroom. About what time did you end your work that day?
About 8:45, it's quarter till something like 8:45 probably, I'd have to guess.
All right.
It was dark.
What kind of vehicle were you driving?
06 Ford Freestar,
What kind of vehicle is that?
a minivan.
Okay. Now, did there come a point in time that you were leaving, let's call it the 800 Danmead? Did you find or encounter anything unusual as you were leaving?
As far as just,
People in the street, for instance.
I was loading up my tools and I noticed this, somebody out there trying to start a dirt bike. All right, so I'm like, I backed out of the driveway because when he finally got it started, it sounded really good. So I pulled up to him and asked him, hey, what are you trying to do with that dirt bike? He said, I'm trying to sell it. So I'm like, I'm interested.
Okay. Now, do you know anything about dirt bikes?
Yes, sir.
How so?
I have a couple.
Right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You've had some in the past?
I still have some, yes.
Okay, very good. So you asked this individual about whether or not that dirt bike is for sale, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe the person that's either standing by or sitting on the dirt bike?
Like, I mean, he's black, but he was like kind of lighter skinned.
Okay. He's sitting on the bike?
Yes, sir.
Is the bike revving?
They finally got it started. Yes, sir.
Did he drive it up and down the street?
Yes, sir. The show it ran.
Now, were there any other people there at that point in time?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you describe them?
There was 4 or 5 white people there,
Okay.
and I mean, like they were just there, and they were looking into buying a dirt bike.
Were there other African American people there?
Yes, that was probably 2 or 3
Okay. Now,
altogether. That was altogether. You know, there was one on the bike, and there was one standing there, and I thought I might have seen another one in the driveway.
okay. Now, are you part of the discussion?
No, I was no part of no discussion.
When you ask about if the bike is for sale, what do you hear next?
The guy took off down the street on a dirt bike. I mean, he revved it. I mean, it was redlined to the point where I thought it was going to blow. You know, I didn't think it was real dirt bike worthy. You know what I mean?
Did you hear any talk between the black guys and the white guys about the sale of the bike?
Nothing right away.
All right. So does the conversation continue? After he rides it up and down the
Well, he
street?
rode it down the street to show us that it ran. Then what I believe to be the owner walked up to me and he's like, "That's my bike."
All right, let me stop you right there. Is the owner, who you believe to be the owner, white or black?
He's a white guy.
Okay? And what did he say?
"That's my bike."
Did he say anything else?
He said, "Do you mind calling the police for me?"
Okay. Did he have a title for the bike?
Yes, sir. He had it in his hand.
Okay. Were they looking at the title versus, let's say, a serial number on the bike?
When the bike came back, yes, sir.
Okay. Were they comparing notes, so to speak, or numbers?
He straddled the bike, the front end of the bike, and there was a cell phone with the light on. And I was like getting ready to leave, and I just kind of wanted to see what happened, because I mean, if it wasn't his bike, I was going to purchase the bike. You know what I mean? I didn't know if it was his bike exactly yet. It didn't get that far yet.
All right.
So I watched him compare notes, and he was kind of straddled. The handlebars were like up against his waist, and he's bent over the bike, the white gentleman. And the black guy was sitting on the bike, and they're both looking at the title and the numbers.
And what's the
He said, "That's my bike."
The white guy says that.
Yeah. And he
What's
said
the
it loud.
Is there a response from the black guy?
He says, the black gentleman was like, he says, "Well," he says, "what are we going to do about this?" He says, "What are we going to do?" He says, "What do you want to do?" He says, "I mean, this, obviously I can't just give you the bike back. There's got to be a finder's fee involved." And then I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? So I was like, I'm just sitting there taking in the information. I didn't know, you know what I mean, it was going to go this far. And then the white gentleman was like, "Well, what are you trying to extort me?" And I was like, "Oh man, this is about to get bad," you know, because I mean, it was getting loud then. It was just starting to they were starting to raise the voice, just started raising.
Was there any talk about who the legitimate owner was or where the bike had come from?
Streetsboro is what the owner told me. He said the bike was stolen from Streetsboro, and he said he was trying to get his bike back. He said they posted on Craigslist for sale. And I'm like, man, I'm not trying to get involved in all this, man. I said, I just asked about the dirt bike.
What was the tone of the two people?
When they first met, they were like laid back, a little, you know, relaxed, and then it just gradually grew from there. It was like just from like a lightweight talk to when like I said, it happened so fast. I mean, this is like, we're talking minutes here. You know what I mean? It gradually got to the point where they started having, they were like controversy over the bike and how much should be paid. And the white gentleman's like, well, you're trying to extort me for my own dirt bike. And the black guy says, I'm not trying to extort you, I just want my money back. And then I was like, oh man. And somebody else had walked up to my van. I mean, this was a year ago, so I mean, somebody walked up to my van. I remember somebody walking up to my van. I said, I'm not trying to get involved. You know, I just asked about buying a dirt bike.
So does the white guy say anything about whether or not the bike is stolen?
The white guy said, that's my bike. It was stolen.
Okay. He says he has the title.
Oh, he had the title.
Does he show the black guy on the bike the title?
Oh, yes, sir.
They start to compare serial numbers?
Oh, yes, sir.
All right. Does the black guy intend on giving up the bike?
Not at that time, no, sir. No, sir. He wasn't giving that bike up.
What's he say, if anything?
There was some mumbling going on. They were back and forth here and there, and that's when I told you he's talking about, well, you're just trying to extort me for this bike, and just said, no, he says, I just want the money back that I paid for the bike, if at all any, you know what I mean? And I don't know, probably about 20 or 30 feet away, there was another black gentleman standing there, and he said something. I didn't really hear what he was saying because I was concentrating on these two guys, because I was still not for sure if it was his bike or not, you know, but it was getting there, you know, like it was to the point where I'm just going to leave, you know, and I really couldn't hear all of it, you know, I just heard certain pieces and parts of it.
What pieces and parts did you hear?
The part about what's going to cost you something. You know, I can't just turn this bike over for you and to you. And the other guy's like, well, to me, it was extortion. And then he says, you're trying to extort me for my bike. And just little stuff like that you could just barely hear. You know what I mean? You could just hear them going back and forth. They were bickering. But then it started getting to that tone where they were yelling. You know, like, I started pulling off. Then I was just like, got my foot on the brake, and I rolled forward a little bit. And I'm like, oh man, this is about to get bad. Did
the white guy say, I want my bike, or I'm taking my bike, something to that effect?
He said, one way or another, I'm taking my bike today.
Okay. What did the black fellow say to that?
Not unless you pay me.
I'm sorry?
Not unless you pay me.
All right. Was there any cussing going on?
Here and there, but nothing like out of the ordinary. I mean, it was more like, and I'm not going to cuss in this courtroom in front of all these ladies.
Well,
I really don't want to do that.
Okay, here's what I would like you to do, and we appreciate that fact.
All right.
But maybe you could use like the first letter of a word.
And he said, oh, man, I ain't even trying to put that in a sentence for real. I would say F that or something. He says, well, this is my effing bike. And he said, well, this is when it started getting loud. And he said, this is my effing bike, and I want my effing bike back. And the other guy said, F that, you're not getting this bike back unless you pay me. And then that's when it started getting really obnoxious. And I was like, wow, here we go, you know. And then I started rolling forward a little bit more.
And then did the white guy do anything at that point in time? As far as you're concerned? As
far as I was concerned, I started pulling forward. I was trying to get out of there then, because then a lot of yelling. There was yelling. I heard a female yell.
All right. Did the white guy come up to you at any point?
Yes, sir. He asked me at the beginning to call the police, and I told him I wasn't trying to get involved.
All right. And did, in fact, you call the police?
Yes, sir, I really did.
You left a message with the police department?
I told them they better get out here.
Okay. And then what do you do?
I started to pursue them down the street to the corner, which is only about 250 feet to the corner.
All right.
And I called.
All right.
And I started 67, so I didn't end up in this chair, and I'm right in the middle of this stuff, and I don't want to be here.
Sometime, maybe 2 or 3 days later, after this incident, do you get a visit from the Akron Police Department?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. 1 or 2 detectives came to your house?
Yes, sir, 2 of them.
All right. You gave them a statement?
Yes, sir, and I also told them I didn't want to be involved, but it was a
Right.
little too late for that.
But is the statement that you gave them then basically the same statement you're giving us today?
100%.
Okay. If I could have a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further, Mr. Bensch, but I'm sure one of the prosecutors will want to chat with you.
Good morning, Mr. Bensch.
Hi.
How you doing? All right?
Not really.
All right. You're getting close to being done here.
All right, thank you.
My name's John Baumel. I'm Assistant County Prosecutor. We've never met or talked before. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And at least in my mind, I don't have a lot of questions for you. I just want to kind of clarify the timeline of things as you kind of told us about on direct examination.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's kind of my purpose here. As far as you're leaving the job, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in what kind of car are you driving?
2006 Ford Freestar.
Okay, and what kind of car is a Freestar? It's a minivan?
It's a minivan. I just throw my used to work box, I just throw my tools in it and beat around in it.
And when you're parked, are you parked in the driveway of the house that you're working on, or were you parked in the street?
At that time, I was parked in the driveway. I pulled all the way up to the back door so I can unload. I was cutting tile, so I have a big tile saw, and I was trying to load it up. And then that's when I heard the bike trying to start. And then we finally got started, and I was like, man, that thing sounds good.
Now, do you walk over then to this?
No,
or
sir. No, it was cleaned up by then. It was time to leave. I try to leave the jobs no later than 9 o'clock, so it had to have been before 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay, and then I put my van in reverse and I backed out. I was actually facing down the wrong side of the street.
Towards the dead end?
No, sir, the opposite. I was facing towards Eastland because I was going
Eastwood.
to Eastwood because I was going to go home and I get on the expressway.
Okay, so you backed out and you're facing towards Eastwood?
I backed out with my rear end going down the road and my front end going towards Eastland. Yes, sir.
Okay, and at this point, you haven't talked to anybody about the bike or anyone?
No, I didn't make no conversation until I pulled up and they finally started it. And I was like, man, that thing sounds really nice.
You indicated on direct examination that the bike rev-lined or sounded like it was going to blow. Was that when the bike was going up and down the street?
That's when he showed the bike off, just to make sure that the bike ran.
Okay, so this was before there was any disagreement?
There was no
about
controversy yet. This was all before that.
So the loud noise you heard was before any disagreement?
Yes, sir.
Then you have a conversation with the true bike owner while the African-American is riding the bike up
He
and
took
down
the bike down the street. Like, I pulled out and I'm facing Eastland and he had the bike and he's trying to kick it and he finally gets it started and he takes off down the opposite side. So I'm facing Eastland, he's going down the dead end part to show us the bike ran. Because at this time he didn't know that the owner was there at the bike.
Okay.
That wasn't even brought up yet. And then the owner of the bike walked over to me.
And you're parked just on the street, in the middle of the street like you're
I
heading
was
out?
parked on the curb line but facing the wrong way.
Okay, so when you say facing the wrong way, you're facing
There's two
east?
ways to face the street, down the right way or down the wrong way. I was facing the wrong way because I was just planning on being there a couple seconds.
Okay, I see what you're saying. You were like on the left-hand side of the road, but you're facing Eastwood?
Right, I was on the right-hand side of the road.
Okay, but you're facing Eastwood?
Right, yes, sir.
Right. After the individual shows off the bike, then there's a conversation then between the African-American and the white male whose bike it is, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that occurs where? Whereabouts are they standing at that point?
From here to that, from here to, I would say probably that podium there.
Okay. Well, as far as there's...
I would say roughly 15 feet, 10 feet.
Are there vehicles parked there in the street?
There was a whole bunch of them that pulled up.
Okay. Do you
Because
remember-
I was there first, obviously. I didn't know they just started coming out of their vehicles when I pulled up, and I would have already started the conversation with the gentleman about purchasing the bike, because I'm like, is this bike for sale? He's like, yeah. He said he wanted $500 or $600 for it. I mean, I looked at him and said, man, I'll take that bike for that price.
But I want to talk now when those two are talking.
Okay.
Those two are talking. Are they in the road? Are they in a driveway?
They were semi in the road. They were probably 8 feet off the curb.
In regards to what they're saying then, you indicated, you know, they're going back and forth. One of the things you indicated was it the white man that said one way or another, I'm taking my bike?
Yes, sir. At the beginning, that's the way it was going down, and that's when I knew it was getting bad.
And do you recall the African-American individual at any point indicating, I'm taking my bike and leaving?
He said, no. He said, F that. He says, you're not taking this bike from me.
Okay. And did he say any words to, I'm taking my bike?
No, sir. He just said, F that. You're not taking my bike. You're not taking this bike.
When you leave, are they still in that, when you decide I'm leaving, are they still in the same spot?
No, sir. It didn't. It was getting bad.
No. Are they still in the same location?
No. They were moving around then. That's when I pulled off.
Had the bike started up again?
Yes, sir. I heard the bike rev. I mean, it rev line, because I thought he took it back down the street again. But, I mean, this time the bike, and I was turning left, because I was on the phone with the police department.
Okay, well, I'm asking you before, when you're leaving, when you leave right from that location, okay, you're now going to go up to the stop sign.
Yeah, about 10 feet back from it, 15 feet before the stop sign.
When you leave, are they still in the same spot as talking and the bike's running?
No, they were bickering. The bike was on the move. I heard somebody yell, and I heard a woman screaming, and then I was like, I kind of looked in the rearview mirror while I had her. I said, you better get out here. I mean, I called Akron police, and I'm like, you guys better get out here. This is getting bad.
Did you hear gunshots?
I heard a pop when I got onto Eastland. I was like, I just punched it. I wasn't even trying to look back. I'm not getting shot.
When you were at the scene, do you recall seeing a red truck?
There was several trucks, a black one, a red one, and a car that pulled up.
Okay. And did you tell the police that there were 3 cars all back to back, one car?
To me, it seemed like that.
Let me finish the question. Do you recall telling them that there was a small car, then a black car, and then the red truck was behind the black truck? All 3 lined up.
When I first pulled up, when I pulled out, okay, in front of me there was something going on in front of me with a vehicle or two. There was something, I don't know what the guy had going on, because I had to pull out around him. There was 2 cars parked right in front of me. Okay, well then there was I wanted to say a black truck in the front. No, there was a car. There was a car in the front. Then to me it seems like the black truck was right here behind it that pulled up behind it. Mm-hmm. And then, because I'm like, damn, all these people want to buy this bike. And then there was another red truck that pulled up on the opposite side of the road that I was on. Okay? And that's when I was like, I thought that they were all here to buy this bike. I didn't know that, you know what I mean? I didn't know that this was going down like this.
Sure.
And then he's like, I'm here to get my bike. Could you call the cops? And that's I was like, oh man, I ain't trying to do this.
Let me ask you this. When you're leaving, was there anything that would have prevented the white man, Curtis Gill, the young man, from him just leaving the scene at that point?
If I had to guess, I'd say no. I mean, that's $5,000 sitting there in the street. And if it's his bike, I wouldn't have left my bike neither.
Well, let me ask you this. Was anybody holding him, or was anybody trapping him in so that he could not move?
I would have to say, I don't know which vehicle he was driving, so I wouldn't know. Because
I understand the question as far as physically, could he move and walk to his truck? Or was he being held or restrained in any way prevented from doing that?
Not that I was aware of. I mean, it was dark. It was 9 o'clock at night. It was dark.
And in regards to the African American, could he also, and when you last saw him, could he have left at that
We
point?
all could have.
Everybody could have left.
Everybody on that street could have left. I did.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
just a couple more questions, Mr. Bensch.
Right.
We'll get
you off to work. When you heard this was a $600 or $700 price for this bike, what's the first thing that popped into your mind?
I'm running to the ATM machine.
Right. And what do you consider the real value of that bike?
I looked at that bike brand new, it was $4,500.
Okay? So if this bike is going for $600 or $700, are you concerned about the origin or legitimacy of its title?
No, not at all.
All right. You don't think this bike is hot in terms of stolen?
I didn't care.
Okay.
This is Akron.
All right. Mr. the white guy, his name is Curtis Gill. He's really intent on taking his bike home, is he not?
Oh, yes, sir, it was violated.
All right.
He wanted that bike.
And the black guy, whose name is Keith Johnson, in your opinion, was he just as determined to keep that bike?
Yes, sir, he wasn't giving it up.
All right. Your message to, or your phone call to the Akron Police Department, if you can remember, I realize it's been a little over a
I
year.
don't remember much of it, but I'll try.
We're just trying to give it to us, paraphrasing, or is it something like, hey, there's trouble here, you better get a cruiser over here in a hurry?
No, I told him, I said, listen, I'm over here on Dan Mead, you guys better get out here. I said, it's getting bad. I mean, they started yelling and screaming, it's a stolen dirt bike. Oh, we got police officers on the way. All right.
Thank you, sir. Nothing further.
Oh, thank God.
Thank you, Mr. Bensch.
I can go home?
You may step down, you are done.
Thank you.
Go either way. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Would you state your name and how many years?
Sir, would you give us your full name, spell your last name?
Curtis Gill, Gill,
Your home address, sir.
777 Annapolis Avenue, Akron, Ohio.
And where is Annapolis in terms of the city proper?
Chapel Hill area. Chapel Hill area.
Okay. Now, sir, what is your trade, vocation, or occupation?
I'm an installer at Hughes Kitchen and Bath.
All right, how long have you been doing that?
I've been there for 6 years.
How old are you, sir?
42.
You have a trade, vocation, or occupation?
Carpenter.
Okay. What's your marital status?
Married.
What's your wife's name?
Michelle Gill.
Okay. Do you have any children?
We have one son,
What's his name?
Seth Gill.
Are you related in any way to William Knight?
He's my father-in-law.
I'm going to call your attention to March 20th, 2017. You recall that date?
Yes.
Are you in Akron, Ohio that date?
Yes.
All right. There's anything in prior to that date? Did you have any items stolen from you or your property?
The year before, the dirt bike was stolen.
And what was stolen?
The YZ85.
Okay. What year was that bike?
The year of the bike is a 2012.
Okay. All right. Where is everything? Just have it. Now, did you have a title for that bike?
Yes.
Okay. And did you, your, And it's been marked for purposes of identification and admitted. State's Exhibit 18. Would you look at that, sir? Do you recognize it?
Yes.
What is it?
It's a copy of the title.
And whose name is on that title?
Mine.
Okay. Curtis Gill?
Yep,
All right. Does it have your address on it?
it does.
All right. Now, does there come a point in time that that dirt bike is missing?
Yes.
Okay? And when was that?
I think March of 2016.
Okay. So approximately a year ago, is that correct?
A year ago?
Well, actually, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. And as a result of it being missing, did you file any type of police report?
I did.
Okay. And next. And you has been marked for purposes of identification as defendant E. Would you look at that, please, sir? You recognize that?
It's a copy of the police report.
All right. And what does that police report say?
It says that 2 bikes were stolen, both from my garage.
All right. Did there come a point in time soon after that that one of the bikes was recovered?
Yes.
Now, let's fast forward about a year to March of 2017. In that period between March of 2016 and March of 2017, have you heard anything about that 2012 Yamaha dirt bike?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay? Then there comes a point in time that you do get some information about that bike, is that correct?
Yes.
How do you come by that information?
On a Facebook buy, sell site,
It is a site that's for bike riders?
basically, yes.
All right. And what catches your attention?
The YZ85 was for sale, saying it was a 2013 and then it was really cheap,
All right. How cheap?
$700.
All right. What did you originally pay for that bike?
32 or 3400.
All right. Now, was that the normal manufacturer's retail price for that bike?
It was lower because it was I bought it in 2014. It was a leftover model from 2012.
So it was an end of the model year closeout type thing?
Basically, yes.
So you get a good price from it, correct?
Yes.
All right. You've got a legitimate title, correct?
Yes.
All right. And who was that bike for?
My son, Seth.
So we're here now, we're fast forward to March of 2017, and you find what appears to be your bike. Is that correct?
Correct.
How do you know it's yours? They must have made a couple dozen or a couple hundred of those bikes.
There were certain aftermarket parts I put on it.
All right. And describe for the jurors who might not be familiar with that phrase, aftermarket. Tell them what you did.
It wouldn't have been something that came on the bike stock. I mean, things I bought afterwards, just like you could upgrade your car or something like that.
All right. Like some people put different tires on a car. Is that correct?
Correct.
Some people put more chrome on a car, correct?
Right.
Is that the type of thing that you did to your son's dirt bike?
Similar to that, we were racing, so it was things for racing to make it better for him.
Did you have different tires put on that bike?
There were, yes.
These are special tires?
The front was a one-off tire that's not available.
Okay. And so you recognize some of these things on, is it Facebook?
I could see it in the picture, yes.
Did you try to contact anybody about this?
I tried to contact Justin.
All right. is that the person we're talking about is Justin Badgett?
Yes.
All right. And at the time, did you know Justin Badgett?
Just an acquaintance.
But he didn't recognize you, is that
Yeah.
correct? All right. That comes later, correct?
I'm not sure if he ever recognized me, but yes.
Mr. Gill, could you get just a little closer to the mic, or you can move the mic towards you?
Yeah, sorry.
So how did you meet up with Justin?
It was arranged through the Facebook page.
Did there come a point in time where you had a friend try to arrange the meeting first?
I did because Justin was not responding to me.
But he was responding to Ambrose.
He responded to Ambrose.
What's Ambrose's last name?
Klasky.
Can you spell that?
K-A-L-A-S-K-Y?
All right, that's an approximation?
Yeah.
All right. We have to do that for the court reporter's purposes. So is he successful in getting a hold of Justin?
He did.
All right. And at a point in time, you have some phone or texting going on with Justin Badgett?
Once Ambrose was able to contact him, he let me know, and I believe Ambrose gave him my phone number to contact.
At a point in time, did you assume the name Ambrose?
Yes,
Why's that?
to be able to speak to Justin.
All right. So then what happened?
We arranged I arranged to get the bike.
Well, let's back up a little bit and fill in some details. Do you meet Justin anywhere?
At his grandmother's house
And where was that at?
on Lenora.
All right? And what happens when you get to Lenora?
He tells me somebody will be coming with it in a little bit.
All right? Does that person ever show up with it?
No.
Okay? What happens next?
We waited probably 15 minutes and Justin got a phone call.
Do you know who that phone call was from?
I had no idea.
Okay? Did you learn out later who that phone call came from?
Yes.
Who?
Keith.
Keith Johnson?
Keith Johnson.
As a result of Keith Johnson's phone call to Justin Badgett, what happened next?
I ended up following Justin to Dam Mead.
All right, and you each had your own vehicle?
Yes.
Justin's driving what? If you remember.
I think it was a Honda Civic, a small Honda vehicle,
What are you driving?
a black F-250.
All right. And do you eventually get to Dan Mead?
Yes.
All right. Prior to you meeting up with Justin over in Lenora, are you doing anything else to try to help retrieve your stolen dirt bike?
Repeatedly calling the police.
All right. About how many times do you call a police department number?
10 or 11.
Okay. At any time do you actually get to somebody live at the police department?
A few times.
All right. Do you tell them, and what do you ask them?
Asked for assistance, that I had a dirt bike that was stolen that I'm trying to recover, that believe I know where it's located.
And what's the response you get from the police dispatcher?
First time I called, they said they were going to be on their way.
All right. So you had an expectation of getting help from the police, is that right?
Yes.
Right. Did there come a point in time after another couple of calls that you're going to meet the police someplace?
I was going to meet them around the corner from Lenora.
And what was that place that you're going to meet at?
It was a CVS.
Drugstore?
Yeah.
All right. Did the police ever show up?
No.
Okay. Did you keep calling?
Yes.
All right. Finally, what happened? They ever show up?
They never showed up.
Now, is there a form of, I'll call it a time crunch at about this point in time?
I spoke, Justin called me and told me to hurry up or it was not going to happen.
All right. Now, Justin's getting this kind of information from whom?
Had to have been Keith Johnson.
So it's Mr. Johnson that says, hurry up, I want to get this done, something to that effect?
Correct.
All right. So is it that point in time that Mr. Badgett leads you around, what, a couple blocks away?
I was at CVS at that time. That's when I went to Justin's.
All right, so you go to Justin, you're waiting there, you get another phone call, they come around a couple blocks to Danby?
I couldn't hear the phone call, but yes, he said we were going to have to go over there.
Okay. Are you still calling the police during all this time?
I think I called the police once while I was sitting on Lenora.
Okay. All right, so you get to Lenora, is that correct? I'm sorry, Danby.
Yes.
All right, now, we have Mr. Badgett leads you on to Danby, correct?
Yes.
You're in your black Ford 250.
Yep.
Is that a pickup truck?
Yep.
Do you have anything in the pickup truck?
Do I have what?
Do you have anything in the pickup truck?
Just all my work tools.
All right? Now, at a point in time, do you call somebody else to ask them to join you over on Danby?
My wife.
All right? That's Michelle?
Yes.
All right? Did you ask anything else of Michelle?
I don't recall offhand.
How's Michelle going to get there?
With her father.
Okay? And how's her father going to get there?
In his truck.
All right? Your truck is black. What color is his truck?
Red.
Okay. Now, does there come a point in time when the red truck joins you on Danby?
Yes.
All right. Who's in that red truck?
Bill and my wife.
Is Bill driving?
Yes.
All right. And do you remember what your wife does when she gets to Danby?
She got out and immediately got on the phone.
All right. Do you know who she's calling?
The police.
What does your father do and with his truck?
I seen him go up around and turn around.
All right. He goes past you and Badgett.
Yes.
There's a dead-end street. Do you know it's a dead-end street?
Not at the time, no.
You know, but you found out later it was.
Right.
He turns around, brings it partially back down the street.
Yes.
Is it on the other side of the street?
Yes.
So we've seen a map here a couple of times, but your black truck is pointed north up toward the dead end with Badgett, right?
Correct.
His truck is parked on the opposite side of the street, facing south, facing toward Eastwood. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you know if there's a fire hydrant near your father-in-law's truck?
No idea at the time, but I do now, yes.
You learned later on?
Yes.
Okay. Later on that night?
Yes.
Is Mr. Johnson there with the dirt bike?
Yes.
Has he got anybody with him?
There was somebody with him.
All right. Now, what does Mr. Johnson do when the two of you come up to the dirt bike?
He lets me look at it.
All right. Is it running at that point in time?
Not yet.
All right. What do you do when you first see the bike?
Look it over and see if it's mine or not.
All right. And how do you feel when you first see it and look it over?
I knew almost immediately it was mine.
All right. Now, do you have any paperwork with you
I had
to confirm that?
I had the title to the bike.
You have the original title, a copy of which we just showed you?
Yes.
Okay. You say anything to Mr. Johnson at this point?
Just that it looks like a good bike, that I'm interested in it.
Did he quote your price?
No.
Did you want to see it run first?
It Didn't matter.
Okay. Did Mr. Johnson run up and down the street with it?
Yes.
All right, finally got it started?
Started right up.
Okay. Then he brought it back to what? Where did he bring it back to?
Back to in front of my truck.
All right. Now, when he brings it back in front of your truck is in the street, is that correct?
Yes.
Does he park it or sit on it right in front of your truck?
Right at the base of the driver's side front bumper area.
All right. What happens then?
I don't recall. We just talked about it for a bit, basically. Said that I wanted it.
What did Mr. Johnson say?
I don't recall.
Was he, did he quote you any type of price?
No, he did not.
All right. And what did you tell him?
I know that around the same time as when Bill had showed up. And when my wife got out, he started saying, why is she on the phone? And what's going on? And I had told him that I had the title to the bike.
What did he say?
You got to give me something for it.
Okay. Did he quote you a price?
No.
All right. He just wanted some money for it.
Yep.
What'd you tell him?
He said I ain't giving him shit.
Okay. It sounded like the conversation was fairly reasonable up to a point.
It was.
Okay? Your original conversation over on Lenora with Mr. Badgett was fairly calm.
It was.
Is it at the point where you inform Mr. Johnson that that's your bike and that you've got a title, do things change?
Yes.
How do they change?
He said he had to get out of there.
Okay. Does the tone of the conversation change?
Yes.
All right. Do you take the title and try to compare it with the serial numbers on the bike?
You couldn't see it.
Okay. Do you take out a flashlight or something like that?
I looked at it with my phone, yeah.
Okay. That flashlight's in your phone?
Yes.
All right. At this point in time, what are you telling Mr. Johnson, if anything?
Said I just want it back.
Okay. And Mr. Johnson responds how?
He said something about, well, if I found your phone, you'd give me some money for it, so I found this bike, you need to give me some money for it.
What'd you say?
I said no.
Okay. Is language starting to get a little hard at this point in time?
It was getting foul.
4-letter words going back and forth?
Yes.
From you to him and him to you?
Yep.
Okay. What do you do then? First of all, is the bike on?
The bike was running then.
All right. So what do you do then?
He was trying to leave, so I stood in front of the bike.
All right. Did you grab the handlebars?
Yes.
All right. Did you grab anything on the handlebars?
No.
Okay. What's the engine doing?
Revving.
All right. Revving how high?
Pretty high.
All right. Do you say anything about the revving of the engine going that high?
Not at that time.
All right. Eventually, do you?
I think I had previously.
Okay.
When he
Sorry?
I had previously when he first started it.
What'd you say to him?
I told him he was going to blow it up.
Was he redlining it?
He had it up there in RPM.
All right. If you hit redlining and keep it up there, you can blow the engine?
Yeah, two-stroke doesn't have a red line, but it'll blow it up.
Okay. At this point, do you grab for anything on the handlebars?
I was just holding the handlebars.
All right. Do you try to grab the clutch?
No.
Okay. Do you try to grab something else on the bike?
I tried to rip the spark plug wire off the spark plug.
If the spark plug wire comes off, will that kill the engine?
Yep.
Now, what happens next?
I just kept on holding him for as long as I could, and eventually he overpowered me
With the bike?
with the bike.
All right. Did he hit you with the bike?
Yes,
Or did he hit you with the bike?
on my leg. My hands were bleeding, at least one of my hands were bleeding.
All right. Do you have any scars on your, which hand was bleeding?
I don't remember right now.
All right, we've got a photo there.
Yeah,
So, did you say you got hit on the leg?
I still have, yes, mark on my
Which
leg,
leg?
my left leg.
All right, are there any scars left?
There is a scar.
With the judge's permission? Show the scar. Understood.
I don't know,
Well,
where do I need to
You
go?
got to come over here.
Okay.
Why don't you come right about here? Just lift up your pant leg. Okay. Now, the world's worst scar, but it's still there after a year. How did that scar get there?
From the foot peg of the bike.
And a foot peg is one of those two pieces of steel that come out here at the bottom of the bike.
Where your feet would rest, yes.
All right, after you get hit by the bike, does that knock you over? Knock you down?
No, I don't think so. Maybe stumble away.
All right. Where does, Mr. Johnson's on the bike now?
Yes,
Where does he go?
down the road.
Sorry?
Down the road.
Down the road. Would he be going down toward the closed end or the dead end, or were you going toward Eastwood?
He was headed towards Eastwood.
Okay. Where he's going, is there anything keeping him from getting to Eastwood and beyond?
No,
As he headed down the road, does anything happen to him or the bike?
he did something and bounced off a car.
All right. Then what?
The bike turned 90 degrees and he got back on it and came right back at me.
Okay. When he starts back at you, where are you?
Somewhere on the street.
Okay. When he was bouncing off this car and headed toward Eastwood, do you walk or run after him?
As soon as he fell, I went towards him.
All right. Because you were going after what?
The bike.
Okay. And he's in the middle of the road.
Yes,
You're in the middle of the road.
yes.
I think you just said he got on the bike, 90 degrees, and he comes back at you. Is that right?
He picked it up at facing 90, it was 90 degrees and he came back.
How's he riding the bike? In what manner?
He hopped on it and as soon as he got on it, it was in a wheelie.
Okay. And for the one or two people in the jury that don't know what a wheelie is, explain it.
The rear wheel only on the ground.
Front end comes up.
Front end up,
Engine racing.
pretty high, yes.
Takes a lot of power to lift that front end up on a wheelie, doesn't it?
It does, and also where you're sitting on the seat.
Okay. Now, he's facing now back up the street toward the dead end, is that right?
Yes,
He's going toward you, your truck is nearby, is that right?
yes.
Right. Now, across from your truck, I should have mentioned this earlier, are there any other vehicles?
That was one of the cars he bounced off of.
All right. Is there one or two cars there?
Two,
Is one being worked on?
yes.
One's up on jack stands?
Yeah,
All right. We've got photos of that, so. So he bounces off of one of those cars, is that right?
yes.
All right. So he's coming back up the road toward you, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, what happens next?
He's coming towards me. I was going towards him. I think I got hit by the front wheel and I dove out of the way and I heard a shot.
What do you see next?
I seen him on the ground halfway under my truck.
Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. When the discussion starts to get out, my phrase is heated. You're arguing about the bike, you're arguing about the title, ownership. Do you ask somebody else there to call the police?
Yeah, right before then, a guy in a minivan.
A what?
A guy in a minivan.
Okay. Do you know that guy?
No.
Okay. What'd you say to him if you remember?
Said this bike's stolen, call 911.
What's he do?
I don't recall.
Okay. He drive away at that point?
Yes.
At a point when all this is happening, he's driven past you, meaning Mr. Johnson, on the bike. What is your wife doing?
I had no idea.
You were concentrating on the bike, is that right?
Yep.
That's your total focus.
Yep.
Do you know if your wife was on the phone or not?
I believe she still was, yeah. I know she still was, yes.
Do you know who she was talking to?
911,
Police department.
yes.
He hits you with a front tire, knocks you out of the way. Then what happens to Mr. Johnson and the bike?
It was just, I was on the ground, and when I turned, he was on the ground.
Was that bike and Mr. Johnson over by the driver's side of your car? I'm sorry, the driver's side of your truck.
Yeah, basically right in front of my rear wheel of my truck.
What did you do at that point?
I got up and it was just, I don't know exactly what I did at that point. But I believe I just went over and I sat on the other side on the devil strip.
Okay. Where is your wife?
She went and talked to Bill.
Bill, meaning your father-in-law?
Yes,
And where were they talking?
in front of his truck.
All right. That's the red truck on the other side of the road,
Yes,
up by the fire hydrant?
yes.
Do you know if your wife is still on the phone at that point in time?
Yes, she was.
Did there come a point in time that the police arrived?
Seemed almost immediate after it happened.
Okay. And did you talk to the police that either immediately after this incident or at least later on that night down the detective bureau?
Yes,
You cooperated with the police?
yes.
If I could have just a second, Your Honor. No, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Ransom.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Gill. You and I met before, correct?
Yes,
Because you actually testified at a grand jury several months back, correct?
correct.
I'm going to have a few questions for you, okay? Similar to when you came to grand jury, all right? If I ask you something you don't understand, let me know.
Okay,
I don't want you to guess. If you don't know, tell me you don't know, okay? I think it's pretty well established, it's your bike,
correct.
correct? It has some value to it, and it's very important to you. Why?
For my son,
Because it's your son's,
right?
okay? And when you went to get that bike, did you have any intentions of leaving without it?
I was hoping to get it back, but I knew it wasn't a chance that I would not come back with it.
Okay. And what was it that you thought was going to happen where you weren't going to come back with it?
I was hoping the police would show up there with me.
That would help you get it, correct?
Correct.
But they didn't, and you went anyway. And why did you go anyway?
Because I was told it was going to be gone.
They told you it was going to be gone by the time you get there.
If I didn't come now, it wasn't going to be available.
Now, you had called the police several times, and when you called them on one of the times, and I think it may have been the last, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you called, they advised you not to go without the police, correct?
I don't recall.
Okay, if the 911, or if the call you made to the communication center, you tell them that the bike's not going to be there, and they advise you you shouldn't go, would that be accurate?
I don't recall if that's what happened, I know.
All right. And so if they did tell you not to go, you decided against their judgment to go anyway.
Correct.
Okay, why?
Because I thought eventually somebody would still be there, would still show up.
Okay. And you wanted the bike.
Excuse me?
And you wanted the bike.
I wanted the bike, correct?
Okay. So you go to, is it Leonora?
Leonora first, yes.
And you meet Justin Badgett. And you know of him at least. You met him once.
He was at my nephew's birthday party a year or two before.
Okay, and if I remember right, it's your sister's...
It's my brother's ex-wife's sister's boyfriend.
It's pretty far removed.
Yeah,
So on some occasion, you guys ended up in the same party, met, and you recall that.
yeah.
How far prior to this had that party been?
I'd say it was a year or two before.
Okay. So at this point, you want that bike back badly enough, and I should go back. In order to get this meeting with Justin, you actually took on a different persona, is that correct?
Correct, just to have a meeting.
Okay, so you pretended to be somebody else in order to do that. And then you get the meeting with Justin, you go there, the police still aren't coming. You find out then that the bike is somewhere else, correct?
Correct.
And what is it that you understand is the reason the bike doesn't show up at Justin's?
There was no explanation.
All right. When you got to Justin's, did you think he was the one that was supposed to have the bike?
I did.
And did you ask him when you got there, well, where's the bike?
I did.
And what did he tell you?
He said somebody would be coming with it in a minute.
And did you ask anything about that?
No,
Did that concern you in any way?
didn't cross my mind.
Okay. So now he tells you we have to go to the bike, right?
Yes.
And that's after he gets a phone call.
What's that?
After he gets a phone call.
After he gets a phone call.
Then he says, we got to go to this other location. All right? And are you concerned at all at this point?
So it didn't cross my mind.
Okay? So at this point, you feel like, okay, well, we just got to go wherever the bike is, and he says, follow me, right?
Yes.
He gets in his Civic, you get in your truck, and you drive how far?
Couple blocks.
Couple blocks.
5, 6 blocks.
And when you drive those blocks, you're just right behind the whole time.
Correct.
You get to Dan Mead. While you're driving, are you on the phone with your wife?
Yes.
And what are you telling her?
I was telling her right, left, because I didn't know where we were going.
Okay. And was she already on her way?
I believe at the time, yes.
Okay. When did you decide to call her and have her come meet you?
We had decided, I'd left and I'd asked Bill if he would be able to haul it before I left.
Why, if you had a Ford 250 pickup truck, did you need Bill to come haul the bike?
My truck was loaded with tools.
Okay? The entire back?
I believe so at the time, yes.
Okay? And you have a cap on
I have a tonneau cover.
it? What kind of cover?
Tonneau cover.
Okay. And when you say that, what kind of cover is that? Describe it for us.
It's like a flat, not leather, but just flat cover that goes over the bed of the truck.
And it's not very high, right? Like
It sits flush with the bed of the truck.
Okay. So there's no more height to it than the height of the actual truck.
Correct.
Were you expecting your father-in-law to be at your house when you initially found the bike?
No.
And you were already in the process of trying to get the bike back when your father-in-law showed up. Is that fair?
Yes.
How long was he there while you were there? How long was he at your house while you were at the house? If at all?
Maybe 15 minutes.
Okay. And during that time, how far along in the process were you of setting up this meeting?
Over 2 hours into it.
If he didn't come, what were you going to do about getting the bike if your truck had full of tools?
I would have hooked up my trailer and took it.
Okay. And so at some point you decided he's here, and then you're getting ready to leave, you're walking out the door, and then you say to him, hey, by the way, I'm going to get this bike right now from this guy who's stolen it. And at that point, it's the first time you ask him to come with you.
Yep.
Okay? If he had said no, you would have been on your way to this meeting to get your bike with a full truck, correct?
I would have hooked up my trailer.
Okay. So you go, you're following Mr. Badgett, you get to Dan Mead. When you get to Dan Mead, you pulled in front of 797 Dan Mead Street, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever been there before?
No.
And you didn't know who lived there?
No.
When you get there, who's there?
Justin, Keith, somebody else. There might have been a few other people, I'm not sure.
Okay. So Justin got there with you.
Yes.
Where was Keith when you got there?
Still in the back of the house.
He was in the back of the house. Okay. And what was he doing? Do you know?
No, I don't know.
Did you hear him trying to get the bike to start?
Not until he came out to the front.
Okay. Did the bike ever have trouble starting?
No, it didn't. It just bogs when you start it. That's what it bogs. It makes a funny noise when you give it gas because it can't handle the cold gasoline.
All right. So that's a normal starting process.
Yes.
Okay. And how many times do you kickstart it?
Yes.
And how many times do you have to kickstart it to get that gasoline warm?
No, it was started right up. It's just if you're giving it too much gas, it doesn't want to stay running.
All right. And did he have trouble getting it started because he didn't know how to do it?
At first, yes.
All right. So how many times did he have to try to do it before he got it going?
Maybe 3 or 4.
All right. Did that sense to you that he maybe not be the most expert dirt bike enthusiast?
No, because the bike's a difficult little bike.
Okay. It's difficult in what way?
It's just a difficult bike to get running at first.
Okay. Is it difficult to ride?
It's fast and high. It's a high-geared bike. It's very fast and very powerful.
All right. And so any little movement with a wheel?
No, not like that.
Okay. So fast and light?
It's a 150-pound bike, maybe 175.
All right. So he gets the bike, he's there in the back, he brings the bike out. When he brings it out, is it running or is he walking?
He walked it out, I believe, first.
Was he on the seat walking it or did he walk with it by the side?
I don't recall.
When he was in the back, was there anybody else up front other than you and Justin?
I don't believe so.
All right, so when you got there, there was really no concern, was there?
No.
Okay, you had no concern, correct?
No.
So he walks out. Does anybody else walk out? Keith walks out from behind the house with the bike. Was there anybody who come with him?
So I think there was one other person.
One other person. And was he a white male, black male?
Black male.
Okay. So they come out. They come, where are you standing? Or are you still in the truck?
I'm at the front of my truck.
And Justin's standing there with you?
Justin had I think walked up the driveway to get him, and they came back.
Okay. And so then the three of them end up coming back to you together?
I think Justin came first, then them. Yeah.
Okay. So it's the two of you and the two of them, right?
I don't know where Justin was at that time.
No, but in that little group?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And you didn't see anybody else?
Not that I recall.
Okay. And so you then start acting as though you were going to buy the bike.
Yes.
You made Keith Johnson believe that you had money to purchase that bike, right?
He knew that, yes, that I was interested in it.
Why is it at that point you didn't tell him, hey, listen, I'm just here because this bike's mine?
I'd hoped that my wife had called the police too, and something had changed.
All right? And so you were trying to stall.
Yes.
So at that point in time, you're pretending to be a buyer, you're making him believe you have cash. He thinks he's going to get money now. He's trying to show you the bike. This is all very normal, right? It's a business transaction, very normal.
Yes.
He shows you, hey, look, here's the bike going up and down the street. He does that.
Yes.
There's nothing unusual about that, right?
No.
Mr. Ward, did he get involved in this at all? The other black man?
No, he didn't do anything.
He didn't do anything. He just stood there. What did you believe him to be, his friend?
Yeah, had to have been.
He wasn't intimidating in any way.
No.
Justin wasn't intimidating in any way, was he?
No.
And you were trying to be the nice guy, wanting to buy a bike, right?
Yes.
So it was all very cordial.
Yes.
He goes up and down the street, he comes back, you start looking at the bike, I'm assuming to feign like, oh, I'm interested, let me see, take a look at this, hey, look, this looks good, right?
Correct.
Still, you're getting his hopes up that he's going to get some money. Yes?
I guess, yes.
Okay. And initially, the asking price was $500?
I think 7.
$700. So he thinks he's about to get $700. Is that fair?
Yes.
And at some point, you decide to tell him that you are the owner. When did you decide to do that, and why was that the point you decided it?
I don't know why, when, what, or whatever. But yes, I told him I was the owner of the bike.
And who was present when you told him that?
Justin, of course, Keith, Brandon, and I don't know, I think it was probably right when my wife got out and stepped out of the vehicle.
All right, had they just pulled up?
I think so.
What about the guy in the van? Was there a guy in the van that pulled up and said he was interested in the bike?
That happened sometime before.
Before it. How much before that? Well, let me go back. Did the van show up after Keith came back from showing you up and down the street?
Yes.
Okay. So he comes back, you're looking at it, and the van shows up at that point in time?
I believe the bike was still running, and I said to him, this bike's mine, stolen, call 911.
All right. And he expressed an interest in buying that bike?
Yeah, he said something off the wall about it.
All right. And he said, look, man, if he doesn't buy it, I'll buy it. Correct?
Yeah, I didn't hear him say that.
Okay. You did, so you weren't aware of it?
No.
Okay. But shortly after this man stops and expresses some interest and says some off-the-wall remark about the bike, wanting it, you then decide to bring out the title.
Yes.
Okay? So now Keith Johnson has two potential buyers, a potential bidding war, and you decide to hit him with the title. Fair?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
The van was gone.
Van left then.
Yeah.
Because he realized bringing out that title really ramped things up. Yes?
Who?
The guy in the van.
He was gone before I produced the title.
Okay, so if he's on the phone telling 911 that you had a title, he would have been there. Would it be fair to say he wouldn't have known you had a title unless he saw you with it?
I think I may have said that when I said call 911, I have a title to this bike.
Okay. All right, so you told him you had a
Yeah.
title. When did you tell him that?
Sometime at the same time, Keith had stopped riding it, and he pulled up and said, "Oh, is that a CR 500 or something crazy like that?" And all I said was, "This is mine," under my breath like that, "This is mine, call 911."
And what was Keith doing when you were talking to him under your breath?
He still had the bike running.
Okay, and was he paying attention to you or these other guys, or was he just sitting over by himself with the
The
bike?
bike, it was all within 3 or 4 feet.
Okay. So did you walk over to the man to talk to him, or?
Probably 2 steps.
All right, so you were free to move.
Yeah,
Okay, and so he leaves, and then do you go back over to Keith,
yes,
and now you're going to talk to him about the bike, maybe a few moments go by, and then you tell him about the title.
yes,
Your wife's there now, they pull in behind your truck, correct?
correct.
Still no change in Justin and Brandon, they're just standing around, just watching. There?
Keith's on the bike the whole time.
Right, Justin and Brandon, though, are just standing around, basically doing nothing, watching, right?
Yeah, I think as soon as I said the title, I had the title to the bike, Justin left. He disappeared.
So bringing out that title was something that Justin was concerned about, right? Knew that was going to be a bad situation, right?
Right,
So now you have the guy in the van, when he heard about the title, he left. Justin heard about the title, he left. And so now it's you, Keith, and Brandon.
yes,
And Brandon's still doing nothing.
yeah,
So it's just you and Keith really still involved in this transaction.
correct.
And during this transaction then, you tell him about the title, and he then says, what?
F you.
Right. You're not going to take this bike. Now, do you show him the title immediately, or do you just tell him you have the title?
I don't recall.
Okay? So you don't know if you showed it to him or not?
I don't know if I showed it to him or not, no.
Do you know if you ever showed it to him?
I know I pulled it out of my pocket at one
All
time.
right. And of course, he doesn't know whether you're telling the truth or not, does he?
Correct?
All right. So he may have thought you were lying.
Could have.
Okay? He is telling you, you're not getting this bike, you need to give me some money.
And he said, well, I found it, just like I would have found a cell phone, or if I would have found something on your property, you need to pay me to get it back.
All right, you've heard of that before, a finder's fee?
Yeah,
Okay. And at that point in time, you wouldn't have been aware that Keith didn't actually steal your bike,
no,
correct?
I had no idea.
You didn't know one way or the other?
Nope,
You don't know how long he had, he could have had a day for all you know, right?
no idea.
And he could have come upon that bike, you know, I guess I shouldn't say honestly necessarily, but he could have just bought off the guy just like he thought you were buying off of him, right?
Correct.
So it wasn't crazy unreasonable for him to try and at least get his money back.
No,
And so now you're still doing business now, right?
trying to.
Okay. And at that point, when he says F you, are you concerned?
Yeah,
And what are you concerned about?
no, I guess we're not getting it back, so.
You're not going to get your bike back. So, at that point, the police aren't there. Now you have your wife there, your 63-year-old father-in-law there. Instead of trying to back out of this thing easily, you decide to do what?
That was all going on at that time. The bike was running again, and all those that argument was going on with the bike running, being pushed against me.
The what?
With the bike running, with it being pushed against me.
Okay, well, the bike was being pushed against you, why?
He was trying to take off.
Okay, so when this all starts, he starts the bike back, strike that. At some point, the bike is turned off, correct?
Yeah,
Okay, is the bike rather loud?
yes,
So when you're talking, it would be difficult to listen and hear each other.
correct.
So he turns the bike off during this time. The conversation starts. At that point in time, before he turns the bike back on, you could have gotten in your truck and left, right? There's nobody blocking you.
Yeah, probably.
Okay? Keith was on the bike. He never made any physical move toward you. correct?
As soon as I told him I had the title is when he started it, and yes, it came towards me.
I'm sorry, before the bike is started, he never does anything physical. He doesn't stand up, try and get, hey man.
No, there was no aggression.
Nothing like that, no aggression. The only aggression was you two yelling at each other.
Yes,
And would you say that that aggression was equal? You were just as aggressive yelling because you were angry this guy had your bike and it was stolen and he's trying to get money from you. So you were just as angry as he was.
yes, most likely.
Maybe even more so.
Correct.
And so this aggression is verbal.
Yes,
At that point, are you determined to keep that bike?
I was hoping to.
Well, you weren't just hoping, because when he turned the bike on, you realized what?
He was taking off.
He was trying to leave. He was trying to get away with your bike, yes?
Yes,
And when he was trying to get away with your bike, instead of just letting him go, it's just a bike, you decided to do what?
just hold on to him.
You didn't hold on to him, you held on to the bike.
Yes,
Okay? As Mr. O'Brien wanted to describe it as the deadly weapon. It could be a deadly weapon and you grabbed onto that deadly weapon. Correct?
I guess, yes.
Of your own volition.
Yes,
Keith didn't do anything to cause you to grab that, other than start the bike and want to leave.
correct,
So you grabbed the handlebars, not the clutch, correct?
correct,
And he then has control of the throttle.
correct.
Your left hand is injured from grabbing that bike, isn't it?
Somehow, yes.
All right. Would it be fair to say that that area right in the crux of between your thumb and forefinger, that was from grabbing that handlebar on that, it would be the throttle side of the bike?
It's from something, correct.
All right. So the bike is throttling pretty high. Do you know if it was you that was causing that throttle to rev high?
It wasn't me,
How do you know?
because I couldn't grab it,
Why couldn't you grab it?
because there's guards around the front, around the bars,
So what were you grabbing?
somewhere on those bars.
All right. So you have those bars and you're trying to hold that bike back, correct?
Correct.
But he doesn't have the clutch in, does he?
No, he's pushing against me.
He's pushing the bike. He is not, he could have let the clutch out and taken off, right?
He did let the clutch out. He was pushing against me.
Well, I thought you said before that eventually he got away from you, then he let the clutch out and took off.
I mean, he had gone back and forth, but he kept on, if he would have let the clutch out and I had him completely stopped, it would have stalled the bike, so he was able to keep it going somehow.
All right. So he's throttling. He's trying to get away, but you're stopping him. Now you're saying he's pushing you, but really he's just trying to get away and you're standing in his way, impeding him.
Yes,
Okay? So when Mr. O'Brien, well, I guess you weren't here for the testimony, so you would have heard that. There were some questions to other witnesses about, was there anything impeding Mr. Johnson from going through down east to Eastwood? There actually was. It was you, right?
at the beginning, yes.
Okay. And the only reason he heads towards Eastwood is because, or he gets away from you and he heads towards Eastwood. Is that fair?
Yes,
All right. He wasn't trying to hit you. He was trying to get away from you. Yes?
sure, yes.
And when he started the bike up, started to throttle it, if you didn't jump in front of him, you would have not been injured. Is that fair?
At that point, I was in front of him as soon as he started it.
Well, the injury to your hand,
Yes.
the injury to your shin happened as he went by you and the peg scraped your leg.
Yes,
cut
at
your
that
leg.
time, yes.
Those injuries we see in those pictures are all from you trying to prevent him from leaving. Yes?
Yes,
Is it fair to say that you did not have any reason to believe at that point in time that you were in danger of losing your life or being seriously harmed?
when he went past me, no.
As you were holding him, the only reason there would be any danger to you would be because of your actions, correct?
Most likely, yes.
If anything, Mr. Johnson might have had some reason to defend himself against you, right?
Possibly.
So now he's free, he gets away, but that's not what happened, is it? He can't get away, can
He kept on going straight.
he? Well, but what happened?
He wrecked or something.
He wrecked. Why did he wreck?
I have no idea.
Was it because he was being held back and all of a sudden, when you finally got knocked out of the way, the bike was going too strong for him to be able to control that little light, fast, powerful bike?
I highly doubt it.
Why is that?
Because he was on it and in control, and then something, he just went like that and hit a car.
Was it possible that your father-in-law shot a warning shot in the air that scared him?
I have no idea.
You don't know.
Nope.
Your father-in-law was up the street at that point, wasn't he?
Yep.
You didn't see him, though, at that point. You were focused on the bike.
No, I didn't.
Okay. So even after you've been injured, you've blocked his wife, he's now gotten away from you, you turn to him, he has now lost control of the bike. Did he go down pretty hard?
It happened so quick. Didn't seem like he was up immediately.
And when he goes down, now this isn't very far, he doesn't go down, he doesn't get very far, does he, before he goes down?
30 feet, 40 feet, I don't know.
10 yards.
Yeah.
Okay, right?
Yep.
Probably less than the length of this room.
Probably about the same, close to the same distance.
All right. He goes down, and instead at that point going, okay, man, this is getting out of control, right? And just get in your truck, because he was further away from you than you were to the door of your truck, right?
Yes.
Matter of fact, instead you pass by the driver's door to your truck to go get the bike again. don't
Yes.
you? So as he falls down, does he ever come off the bike or partially off the bike? How to describe it for us?
I think he was partially off the bike.
All right, so he's partially off the bike. It's not even separated from him. And you still go to get the bike,
Correct.
correct? So you walk past your door to your truck to get to this bike that's now on the ground and still running, correct?
Yes.
How far do you get?
Prior to my rear bumper.
Okay. And you get to your rear bumper. How far out from the rear bumper are you?
Have to be middle of the street,
Okay.
a couple feet then,
And where's the bike at this point?
coming towards me.
No, it's on the ground at some point, right?
Yeah, it was at the back of the one car, but at the time, if I was at my bumper, he was already coming at me.
So while it's on the ground, before he gets back on and gets back up, where do you get to?
Said I got to my rear bumper.
All right, and so it's at that very moment when you get to the rear bumper, so if this table is your truck, you get to your rear bumper, he's down where? In front of you here or there?
It was about that quick that he went down and got right back up.
Okay. Well, we see though, that we can see that the pills there's a whole string of the pills, so he must have gone down and slid a little ways, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when he goes down, does the back tire fishtail around?
No, you're talking about there. I thought you were talking about when he was shot.
I'm sorry?
I thought you were talking about when he was shot, that he slid.
No, I'm talking about when he went down. We haven't gotten to the shooting yet. When he goes down, he slides and all the pills come out of his pocket apparently, right?
No, nothing about pills.
Okay, you didn't see anything in the roadway?
Nope.
Okay. Well, if I told you that there were some pills that traveled basically the length of one of those cars, would that indicate to you that when he went down, he slid the length of that car at least?
Not necessarily, no.
All right. So you're at the end of your truck, and when he gets back on the bike, does he seem injured or dazed in any way?
Not that I could tell.
Okay? And you're standing there at the corner of your truck, and when he gets up, which way is the bike facing, if you know? It's perpendicular.
90 degrees to the road.
Okay, so he is not facing toward a dead end.
No.
He would be facing 797 Danny.
Yeah, down some, one of his neighbor's house, yes.
Well, if you're at the corner of your truck and your truck's in front of 797 Danny, that bike came up facing 797
Correct.
Danny. And that's where you're standing, at the corner of your truck. And then he comes up and the bike, is it still going heavy, revving?
Yeah, he gives a gas and gets on it.
Okay? And he's getting on it and it's wheeling, correct?
Correct.
Isn't it true that his feet were actually still on the ground and he was just trying to get back on the seat?
I don't believe so.
You don't believe so, but do you know?
No.
You don't know one way or the other?
Nope.
And as a matter of fact, you don't even know if he was in control or out of control, do you?
Not at that point, no.
All right. So at this point in time, he goes down, he gets back up, you're standing there, and he may have been out of control, and the bike now, because he went down on it, pops back up, he's maybe out of control and doing a wheelie, and you happen to be in that area because of why?
I started to go towards the bike.
Because you chased it, right? And so the only reason you're in the vicinity of the bike at that point is because you put yourself there, fair?
Correct.
Now you're right where you want to be. You want to be with that bike, now you're with the bike, correct?
Right.
But now the bike is running and moving, now you decide it's time for me to dive out of the way. Yes?
Yes.
And that's all because of how you positioned yourself and made this situation happen.
I guess.
At that point in time, within a moment, Keith Johnson's dead. Is that fair?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Keith Johnson was already past you. You had dove behind your truck, right?
I was in the middle of the street.
Okay, so you were in the middle of the street. Which way did you drive, right or left?
Right.
You would do toward the bike?
No, he was coming this way. My truck was here.
Okay, so here's your truck. You're in the bumper of your truck. He goes down, comes around. He's going perpendicular to the street, so he's coming toward you.
Facing the same, he's coming the same direction my truck was facing.
That would be
My
parallel to the street.
He comes that way, parallel. Yes, the bike was not parallel to begin with. It was 90 degrees.
So when you dive out of the way, he goes past you, up toward the dead end,
Yes, he's heading that direction.
and he's past you now when he gets shot.
Same time I hit the ground, I heard a shot.
Okay. So he wasn't shot before he ran into you, right?
No.
And that shot, when he was shot, you were actually, you tell me, were you in line of that fire?
I don't know.
You may have actually been standing behind Keith Johnson when he got killed, correct?
I could have been.
At that point, you said that you went over and sat on the curb, the
Yes.
Devil's Trip. Okay? At that point in time, you realized you had a real bad situation, didn't you?
Yes.
Your father-in-law is standing there, he had a gun? Yes?
He was up by his truck, yeah.
All right, did you see the gun?
No.
You never saw the gun?
No.
Okay. And your wife was there, correct?
Yes.
And in no time during this event was your wife ever in harm's way, was she?
She grabbed onto me at some point, but I never knew it.
All right. So let's talk about that for a moment. She told you this later, correct?
Correct.
So while you were grabbing the handlebars, or grabbing the bike, and I guess the guards to the handlebars, she is concerned enough that she comes and grabs you and tries to pull you off the bike.
Right.
And she's doing that to get you away from him.
Yes.
then you don't know where she goes, right? Because you're so focused on that bike and on keeping that bike from getting away that you don't even know your wife.
I had no idea where she was at.
No. Let me just finish the question. You were so intent on keeping that bike from moving, you had no idea that your wife was actually grabbing you and trying to pull you
No, I
away.
didn't.
You never felt it.
Nope.
You were so intent on that bike, you had no idea where your wife even was, so you can't even tell us whether she was in any kind of danger of being run over by that bike or not, because you were so focused on that bike and getting it back from Keith Johnson. Fair?
Fair, I guess.
After this is all over, your wife is there now, and we won't go through where she was, because I know you said you didn't know. But at some point in time, you see your wife, and she's upset, fair?
Yeah.
And is she crying? What's she doing?
No, we're both in shock.
You're in shock. And did she appear to be still under the effects of watching her father shoot a man?
She didn't, I don't even think she didn't see anything.
All right, but she was aware at that
Yeah,
point in time what happened, right?
Yeah, we're in shock from seeing Keith.
All right. Keith was laying there on the ground, dead.
Yes.
And she was, from seeing him dead, she was clearly emotional.
Yes.
And she said what to you?
Don't recall anything of what we really said to either one of ourselves.
Do you remember talking to Captain Laughlin, at the time Lieutenant Laughlin?
After we made it to the police station.
Right, that same night you went and talked to him, right?
Yes.
And when you talked to him, he asked you, did you say anything to your wife? Or did she say anything to you, rather? And she said, oh my God, I can't believe he did that.
Okay.
Referring to her father and what he had just done, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember that now?
No.
But if you had said it then,
Would seem accurate.
and that was what your wife told you just seconds after her father had shot and killed Keith Johnson. Fair?
Yes.
I have no further objection. Thank you.
Mr. Gill, up until the time that you and Mr. Johnson are talking about the sale of the bike, everything is fairly calm. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson isn't aggressive, you're not aggressive. Is that true?
Correct.
And it's not until you pull that title out and say, this bike's stolen, here's the title, it's my bike, I want it. Is that when Mr. Johnson changes?
Yes.
Does he become aggressive at this point in time?
Yes.
He's the one that says, F this, F that, you're not getting your bike.
Yes.
Is at that point in time, the bike's running,
It gets started right around then.
and he starts pushing the bike against you,
Yes.
okay? So he's the one who starts pushing the bike and trying to get away. Is that
Yes.
right? You don't throw a punch at him or anything like that?
No.
It's when he realizes he's been caught that he gets mad. Is that right?
I believe so.
After he pulls away, skins up your hand and your shin, and you turn around, he's going down toward Eastwood. After he bounces off a car, and he dumps the bike.
He went towards Eastwood, yes.
All right. He could have picked that bike up, and instead of going up the street back toward you in the black truck, he could have gone straight down and out the door on Eastwood. Could
Yes.
Instead, he spins the bike around and comes back at you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you're in the road?
Yes.
Are you on the, that would be what, the driver's side of your black truck?
Somewhere right in that area, yes.
Okay? Maybe a little behind it?
And say, yeah.
You got to dive out of the way.
Yes.
He's coming at you.
Yes.
Doing a wheelie.
Yes.
Correct? At any time before this situation unfolds, did you ever ask your father-in-law to bring his weapon with him to Danby?
No.
The back of your black truck has a tonneau cover on it, correct?
Yes.
And that tonneau cover is right even with the top of the side of the pickup truck, correct?
Yes.
All right? You've got your tools in there, is that right?
Yes.
Do you do anything else inside that truck on your own
What do you mean?
to keep your tools from sliding around or moving around?
2x4s or something like that to brace them.
All right? And where do you run that 2x4? From side to side?
Bed
Wheel
rail.
well to wheel well?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else you know do that?
That's how Bill's truck is set up also.
Okay? So you got boxes in the back of his truck?
A few things.
All right? Does he have a brace across the back of his, or the middle of his, the bed of his truck to keep those boxes from sliding?
Yes.
If he moves, if he takes the brace, that 2x4 brace down, pushes the boxes forward, does he have room for that dirt bike?
Plenty.
Is that a yes?
Plenty, yes.
Plenty. Thank you, Mr. Gill.
Sir, I'm going to show you what has been previously identified and admitted as State's Exhibit 5G. Just take a look at that, see if you recognize that.
Yep.
What is that?
Back of his truck.
Okay, and were you aware that he had this much stuff in his truck?
Well, it's not much at all.
Okay, this is not much. Let me just... All right. So you believe that that the bike would have been able to fit into his truck with all this stuff better than it would have fit into your truck?
Yeah, my stuff, mine was full to the bed rails.
All right. Did you even know what was in his truck when you asked him to bring?
No
You
idea.
had no idea?
No.
It could have been full to the brim too, right?
Could have.
One other question I have for you. After Mr. Johnson went to the ground, at any time did he get up and run like a football player and take about 6 steps toward your father-in-law?
No.
Never did that.
Never got off the ground.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
No, we agree. We agree.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, I am. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a 10-minute break
At this time.
All rise.